Welcome to Trust the Journey. I'm Melanie Curtis. Our mission is to live, laugh, love, and learn together with you. We're here to create conscious connections, to grow and contribute through our practice of openness, honesty, vulnerability, humility, and trust, trusting the entire journey. Family, across the internet, our handle is trustthejourney.today. That's our website. It's our Instagram. If you would like to support the podcast, you can subscribe on YouTube. You can follow us on Spotify or Instagram. You can leave a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts if you like the show. If not, no worries. You can also financially support the show by becoming a member of our Patreon community. That's the Trust the Journey family. It is absolutely how we keep the show going and growing. It's a private Facebook group where we expand the conversations directly with anybody who is seeking community, who's seeking connection and support in their healing journeys as well. So we hold a really safe and deep and non-judgmental integration space, encouraging us all to be vulnerable and support each other in our challenges and our wins. So yeah, if that calls to you, if you're feeling inspired by that idea and want to connect or just want to lurk and listen to learn more, you're welcome. All you need to do is join the Patreon community by going to trustthejourney.today and signing up. We also do host live integration coaching circles once a month that is included with our Patreon subscription. So please join us if you want. And that's, again, trustthejourney.today. If you want to connect with me individually, or if you want to connect with my co-host Jay individually, you can go to jasonmaledzki.com or melaniecurtis.com. Cool. Okay, so before we jump into today's episode, per usual, when we're talking about psychedelic medicines or plant medicine, that type of healing, we are sharing for informational purposes only. We are not doctors and we do not promote doing anything illegal. Cool. So on that note, let's jump into this thing. Today, I am absolutely thrilled to welcome Cesar Marin. Woo! Cesar in the house.
Yay! So good to be here.
Cesar, I'm going to read your bio and make you embarrassed and just enjoy this.
Yes,
Cesar
please.
Marin, yes, he is the owner and founder of Cultivating Wisdom. He is a dynamic entrepreneur and esteemed former CNN producer. With a passion for empowering individuals through knowledge, he has successfully built a platform that promotes personal growth and enlightenment through the practice of microdosing. Cesar's commitment to wisdom cultivation has made him a respected figure in the psychedelics industry. His visionary leadership continues to inspire and transform lives. Yes, listen, I can jump right into our conversation and say that is very true. Like, I kind of, with Cesar, before I even start, I was like thinking about it. Like, we connected first on Instagram.
We did.
Which is not something I normally do, honestly. It's not something that happens for me very regularly. But your radiance, your love, your true genuineness of spirit and heart was immediately apparent to me. And then we met at Psychedelic Science in June in Denver. And then in person, I was like, oh, God, this person. Give me this hug. So welcome, my friend. Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Melanie. Thank you so much. I'm honored. I'm thrilled. I'm humbled to be here with you. It's like you said, we got to know each other before we actually met each other. And it was through that connection online, through Instagram, that I got this sense that you were just this radiant, wonderful human who wanted to share her message and her message of love and of healing. And the idea that you were going to be in Denver and we were going to be there was just, to me, was like, okay, I want to meet more people. And that's one person that I definitely want to meet and connect with. And it was funny because the idea was that we might meet in the conference, and we actually met in the hotel. We actually met like right outside. And it was like, okay, wait a minute. And right away I could tell that there was just this vibrational connection that was something magical. That was something magical. So it's been a blessing. It's been a blessing
Yeah.
to be in your circle. It's been a blessing to have you in my circle, and to
Yeah.
now be here with you on the podcast is a thrill. Is a thrill.
Oh, I know. I love it.
Yeah.
It's true. I mean, it really, for me, it genuinely knowing you feels like an I see you moment where your
Thank
souls and your spirit, and I don't mean that in a woo way. I really don't. I mean it in a very like actionable, like this is an empirical data point in my life, meeting someone like you. So anyway, not to
I appreciate
overly, but so I'm stoked to have you here. And one of the things I like to do before we dive into content and talking about your journey is, how are you doing? Like, how are you feeling today, right now? You know, obviously stepping into the trust the journey space, but like, what's up with you today as a person?
There's actually a lot. There's a lot of things on my mind in the sense of where we're going, right? Where this project is going. It's funny because I'm coming up on the anniversary of my first ever awakening, which is a bit crazy. Everything that's happened in this year, where if a year ago someone would have said this, if a year ago right now someone said, okay, this and this is going to happen, you're going to lose your job at CNN, you're going to start a company about psychedelics, you're going to end up being at conferences, you're going to be talking at conferences, I'd have been like, you're crazy, you're crazy. That's not going to happen. So it's right now we're at this verge of it's a new business. There's a lot of potential things happening. There's a lot of potential things that can happen, but at the same time, it's a new business. It's a growing business, and being an entrepreneur for the first time in your life at the age of 55 is very challenging. It's very challenging, but it's reprogramming everything about yourself. So it's right now. You know, we got Wonderland coming up in a couple of weeks down in Miami, which is going to be interesting. That's going to be another big conference. So that's on the mind of how we make sure to position ourselves there to get the best out of being there and continue to grow this mission, this platform, and also myself. You know, my own personal growth of, okay, where are we going? What happens next? What adventure is around the corner? And just excited about life, excited every day of waking up and being able to walk my dog and being able to be outside and being able to have wonderful conversations with wonderful people. It's a good life. I'm really appreciative of the moment that I am, mentally, physically, and spiritually. But again, it doesn't come with challenges. It doesn't come with the anxiety of what happens. It doesn't come without, but it's where we're in a good place. We're in a really, really great moment of my life. I'll be 56 in a couple of weeks. I'm excited about that. Actually a month from now. So really excited about that. And again, excited about the growth of Cultivating Wisdom.
Yeah. Entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart. It's no joke. It's really not for everyone. It sort of like makes me think of the parallels between skydiving, because, you know, that's a part of my story, but also psychedelic healing. It's not for everyone. You know, I think it can be for everyone. You know what I mean? So it's not that I want to close the door to that, but but entrepreneurship is an animal, is a beast, and it's a beautiful, creative one. I believe in entrepreneurship as this sort of beautiful, creative beast that is like so hard, but also so enlivening on so many levels. So I feel your share around that, especially being a young entrepreneur. And I say young, meaning new to this business, new to this field. And you mentioned your awakening. And so I kind of like, I can't let that, you know, that's like what is that?
Exactly.
Like,
what a teaser. What a teaser.
Yeah. So tell us that story. Like, what happened? How did you go from being a CNN person and having this long career to being changed in the ways that you have? Like, take us there.
It was quite a journey, and like I said, it was actually almost a month ago that happened, and it all happened
a year ago.
A year ago, yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
a year ago to it. My first awakening was the Monday before Halloween of 2022.
Nice.
Prior to that, someone very close to me has a psychedelic experience. They're off at Martha's Vineyards. It's the 4th of July. and they have a childlike experience, and they tell me it was amazing. My kids who I wanted to kill them an hour before, I was in love with them. I looked at my husband and I realized this is why I love this man. And this curiosity opened up, and I was like, hey, what is this psychedelics? And at the time, and if you read anything about me, it's something I've been very honest about. I was battling with a cannabis addiction. I was battling with an addiction to a substance, and the issue is not the substance, it's the addict, right? It's sort of, it's when whatever that is, whatever that issue is, the substance, that pleasure point that you're going after in that addiction, when that controls you more than you control it, that's when the problems. And that was my relationship with cannabis at the time. So maybe part of the curiosity was a different high, right? Because I got to the point where, there wasn't a lot of getting high with the cannabis because it was being used so much. Weeks later, someone on a bike ride that I'm with in Atlanta, he looks like a child, and I'm like, what's up? And he goes, I just had some mushrooms. And I'm like, what? He's like, yes. And I feel like a kid. I feel like I'm riding a bicycle for the first time. And then the curiosity really gets poked at it. And I'm like, okay, that's really interesting. And somehow, through a friend, I get a chocolate bar. And it was funny because the first time I try psilocybin, I had only a piece of the chocolate bar. So I was not aware that I was actually having a microdose at that moment.
Yep.
But so I go on this bike ride and nothing really happens. I feel like a smile, but it wasn't anything. And I'm like, okay, but what happened? What happened to the hallucinations I was supposed to have? And what happened to all, the visuals and everything people talked about? And it wasn't until a week later, on the same Monday bike ride that we would do here in Atlanta, that I have half of the chocolate bar. And that was when everything awoke. When it was like, wait a minute, that's what my hands feel like, and that's what it feels like to breathe, and look at the colors on the trees, and look at the night sky. And remember, this is the Monday before Halloween, so all the houses are decorated, the bushes are looking amazing, and I was just like, what else am I missing in life? Like, what else am I not going around? But it was really, there was something curious about that day that's definitely part of the journey. That as I'm driving home, as I'm on the highway, and the street lights are going off like fireworks, there's this consciousness inside of me that says, "Why are you driving like this? Why?" And I was like, "What?" And in any other condition, if I had been driving and drinking before, I'd be like, "Don't worry, I've driven worse than this. It's all good." If it was cannabis, there's no cops around. Don't worry, you light it up. It's all good. There was something inside that was being very conscious and going, what are you doing? Like, what are you doing? And I get home, and as a good journalist, right away I start to research, like, what just happened?
Right.
Like, what was it that this substance did in my body that made me feel all these things that I hadn't felt in such a long time? What life felt like, that consciousness of, wait a minute, what are you doing? That awakening, like, what was it that happened? And I started to realize, wait a minute, people are using this for medicine.
Yeah.
And they're using this for depression, and they're using it for anxiety, and people are using this for PTSD. And wait a minute, what is this? What is this microdosing? What is this? Wait, people are using microdosing to get over substance dependencies? And that's when the heart was like, did you read that? And the brain was like, no, keep reading. Don't worry about that. Just don't, no. You didn't see anything. And the heart was like, that's it. That's how you can control that cannabis addiction that you have intentionally. And it was funny that you talked about the entrepreneur thing, because it came to mind that entrepreneurship is almost like a psychedelic journey. You have to have intentions. You have to be ready for the journey. And no matter what happens, you have to integrate everything you learn in entrepreneurship to make sure that the next journey is great. It's so sort of true. That's such a great analogy that you say that. So that was that awakening. That awakening was like, wait a minute, hold on a second. What am I missing in life? What else am I missing? And as I start to research on microdosing and how people are using this, and finding out about protocols, and there's different protocols, the Fadman protocol, the intuitional protocol, and I start reading about dosage, and I start really educating myself. I go, okay, that's it, I'm ready, and I take a deep dive into psychedelics. in which in a year the plant medicines have changed my life in many a ways, of how I project myself, how I handle myself. Not that I wasn't like this before, in the sense of like, you know what, come here, let's a hug is going to help us figure things out. A smile will make your life better, my life better. I was always like that, but there was this lack of a real awakening to my real potential, to my potential of being a true voice. And I was always like behind the camera at CNN, putting stuff on, but that, no, wait a minute, I can project this voice of hope and compassion and healing through plant medicine. And especially for my generation, especially for people who can relate a bit more to me, like, wait a minute, hold on a second. He's lost his job. I lost my job. He's 55. I'm in my 50s. He's gotten divorced. I've been divorced. His kids are older. My kids are older. There's a lot of things that I can talk to people to say, wait a minute, I was where you were. I was where you are 10 months ago.
Yeah. Yeah.
10 months ago, I was not awakened. I was asleep, and I was just going through the motions, and I was just going through things. And plant medicine has really changed the way I look at life.
I feel like that is such a common story that you hear in the psychedelic community, and it's definitely part of my mission in elevating voices. It's just like, if I'm not a researcher, scientist, or facilitator, like, how can I be in service to healing humanity and helping others find access to healing? Is I can hopefully lift voices like yours that is not like, you're not like me, right? We are so alike to the point of, like, as a tip of the hat to the intro, but we are so divergent relative to, I'm not a 55-year-old man with older, you know what I mean? Like, your story is what will resonate with the people that are like you. And it's one thing I don't want to glaze over. I want to touch on, because you shared so much good stuff in there, is you talked about how the medicine, I don't know if, and correct me if I'm saying it in a way that you maybe wouldn't say it, but like, it helped you connect to feelings that you hadn't felt in such a long time. I'm almost curious your perspective on that as a man, just as obviously as a person in our Western culture, and how we are so not encouraged to feel. Like, we are taught that, like, feelings are failure, that we're fucking it up if we're freaking out or we're having a human experience. And there's, like, that is a big deal. And so what I love about and where I'm going with this is, what it sounded like in your awakening was this, like, I am feeling stuff on the joy side of the house and the love side of the house, not just, oh, fuck, I'm having a painful experience and I'm acknowledging and I'm validating that and I'm allowing that. That's one side of acknowledging and allowing our feelings. But then there's this other side of, like, whoa, I haven't felt joy or awe or real expansive love in how long? Why? Anyway, you see where I'm going with that. Please say more if anything's there for you.
You're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct. And the reason being is that, especially my generation, and you hit it right on the head. We grew up where no one cares about your feelings. Nobody cares about your feelings. Don't tell me about your feelings. Nobody cares. Check that at the door. Nobody cares. Right? Men were told that vulnerability is a weakness.
Right.
If you show that you're vulnerable, that's a sign of weakness. Don't you dare show that you're vulnerable. Ever. Who was the first person that said men don't cry? Why?
Right.
I'm a human. Before being a man, before being a woman, we're humans. Right? And humans have emotions. And there's this emotion called crying. And sometimes it comes out of fear. Sometimes it comes out of joy. Sometimes it comes out of sadness. Sometimes it comes out of laughter.
You're right.
So how can you tell me that I can't do that?
Right.
How can you tell me? And it's and you hit something that's really important, and especially about my generation, men. I sense that men, my generation, a lot of them, I'm not going to say all of them, a lot of them fall into two pods. Right. One You have that man that grinded. He went to work every day at 5 o'clock in the morning. He was in that office and he was there till 9 o'clock at night, and he grinded and he made it. And now he's got, the latest Mercedes. And yes, he's got a $2 million house, and he's got a 70-inch TV. And, his kids each got Lexuses when they turn 16. What does he really have? Is he feeling joy? Is he feeling love? Or his kids coming home to dinner from college? No, you know why? Because you never took your daughter out on a date to a movie because you were busy working, because you never went and kicked the ball with your kid because you were on a spreadsheet.
Right.
So you have that pod, or you have the men that are my age and go, you know what? 10 more years and hopefully I'll retire. Hopefully I'll win the lottery. Hopefully, that'll bring me happiness, and I'm just going to go through the motions, and then I'll retire, and then they'll roll me down the stairs, and then I'll go off. That's not life.
Yeah.
That's not life at all. Life is, like you said, life is loving, life is feeling, life is talking. Life is talking to your partner, your neighbor, someone on the bus, someone in the line, someone whatever at the TSA, just going, are you having a good day? They might tell you, you know what? Fuck you. Mind your own fucking business. And that's fine. But someone might say,
still a real connection.
Exactly. But most likely someone's going to say, I'm doing awesome. Thank you for asking. How are you doing? I'm doing great. Why? That art is so missing right now. And that has really happened with the plant medicine. That connection not only to myself, but to everyone else. To realize that, why not walk down the street with a smile and smile at every person I can? Why? Because he's high and he's microdosing? Yeah, most likely, yes. That's because he's living a great life. He's loving his life, right? Why not come up to someone and give them a hug and say, you know what? Whether they're having a good day, whether they're having a bad day, that's just going to make their day better.
What was the pain that you were experiencing before? I mean, other than, obviously, this is sort of building on what we're talking about here, because I think a big part of these conversations that makes them inspiring is not only what's possible, but also where you came from. You know what I mean? Like, what was the struggle? What was the like pain point that you were like, this has to change, or I was like going through the motions. I think you said you lost your job, or what kind of happened? You know what I mean?
It's funny that you asked that, because there's the universe does things in amazing ways.
Yes.
Right? Look, plant medicine could have come into my life in my 20s, and I could have been off getting high and God knows what. Right?
Mm-hmm.
I could have been laid off at CNN and plant life not come into my life.
Mm-hmm.
And what would have happened then? Right? What would have?
It's an interesting question. It really is.
Exactly. What would have happened? So the fact that the universe brings plant medicine into my life right at the moment where I'm about to get laid off from CNN, is that a coincidence, or is that just the universe saying, you know what?
A little wink.
Hold on a second. Exactly. We're going to close your 25-year chapter at CNN, right? And we're going to open up this new one. Because let's be honest, Mel, let's totally be honest. If I wasn't feeling in the sense of how alive I was feeling, of really being in my emotions, of really sensing who I am, and then more importantly, living in the now, right? Realizing that the past is gone. That's never coming back. And the future is so uncertain that there's nothing to do. So I had a couple of options once I got laid off of CNN. And it was funny because the plant medicine comes into my life. I start to create Cultivating Wisdom, right? I'm still working at CNN with the sense of like, this is going to happen. The plant medicine, the intentions, going into the microdosing was, okay, what happens after CNN? Whether I get laid off or whether I don't get laid off, what happens at CNN? And as I start to create and put these things in motion, right? And then the universe finally says, you know what? Your time at CNN is done. We're going to go off to do something else. There was the pain, the medicine had already alleviated the pain point in the sense of, what are we going to do next?
Nice.
This is now yours. This is now yours. You are now going to go from being a sailor on a ship to now be the captain of your own ship.
Amazing.
And there's going to be a lot that's going to come with this. But the more you sense your feelings, the more you talk, the more you tell people, hey, you know what? I don't know how to do this. Or, you know what? How about if we do this? Or the more you share your feelings and your experiences, the easier you can alleviate those pains. And the pain point was that stuckness.
Yeah.
That second pod I talked about, that men my generation, where you're just going through the motions.
Yeah.
You don't understand, Melanie, how many times I walked, because I would work an 8 o'clock show, which means if your show is on at 8 o'clock in the morning, you're in the office at 4.
Yeah.
You gotta do show prep. You can't you don't walk in at 8 o'clock and the show is done. So you do not know how many times I would be walking into CNN going, how much longer do I have to deal with this? And let's be honest, I've been there for 25 years. So there was something good, right? The fact that I've been in there for 25 years, there's good benefits. There's good,
Right.
it's a good salary if you've been at CNN for 25 years. But yet still, that wasn't doing it. There was that lack of, and maybe it was that lack of not having a voice, not having a platform for myself to be, you know what? Maybe the universe has something bigger for me than I even know I have the potential to have.
So it's just amazing. I think it's also cool because you are, and again, I feel like you're still quite young person. But in some perspectives would be like you're an older person, you know what I mean? And it's like, it almost fits into this idea of we never know when the next chapter, you know, and it's also like it's never, ever too late. I definitely am a fan of those types of, obviously, ideas, but, you know, memes you see on the internet, shit like that, where it's telling the story of this person published their first book at 70 or this person, whatever. Like, that stuff is real. That stuff happens. And it's almost like the blanket of the pattern, of the routine, of the ideologies that we're indoctrinated with, or whatever the word is, you know, all of that stuff, just living, it's can feel very challenging, I think, to believe that something else is possible for us. You know what I mean? And it's beautiful that your experience with psilocybin and that medicine helped you to access those possibilities for yourself. That's like a big thread that I see and hear in your story, which is beautiful, you know, and it's not to say that you couldn't have found it without medicine, you know what I mean? Because I do think that we are capable as humans to challenge ourselves into experiences, whether it's plant medicine or not, that will help us open our mind, that will help us shift a perspective, that will help shake our stuckness, like out of our routine. Like all of that matters, you know?
Yeah.
I want to hear more about the protocols. Honestly, if you feel like you're someone who can share about those,
no, of course,
because I feel like people might be going, what is that? What's a microdosing protocol?
Definitely.
You know, you're the guy we want to hear from.
Definitely, and it's something you touched on. It's sort of that intentionality of the medicine is incredibly important, right? That this is one tool in your toolbox. This isn't the fix all, be all. I'm gonna have start a protocol on psychedelics and it's gonna change my world, or I'm gonna go have a journey and sit with ayahuasca and my life is gonna completely change,
right?
Or I'm gonna sit with MDMA with my partner and our whole complete relationship is
healed forever. No other work will be required. Definitely not. It's not a panacea at all.
No, it's a tool. It's a really important tool when used correctly. A really important tool to open up that mind, but it's not the be all do all. That's for sure. That's definitely. So I'm glad that you pointed that out and that you stress it, because that's important. Protocols. It's funny because I preface it by saying that since this is microdosing in the sense of the clinical studies of microdosing is very new, it's very infantile yet. There is no clinical research enough being done that you can say this is This protocol works better than this protocol
Got
works
it.
better than that. So I like using examples and experiences.
Cool. Yeah, great.
For myself, the Fadiman protocol, which Dr. James Fadiman, the godfather of microdosing, he's sort of credited with coming up with the word microdosing. He did some studies with people doing citizen science and he getting those papers back. So he, through all his research, came up with this protocol, which calls for 1 day on, 2 days off.
Okay.
So you have a day of dosage, you have a day of transition, and then you have a day of integration.
Cool.
Right? And then you repeat. He calls for doing it 4 to 6 weeks with then 3 weeks integration.
Okay.
For me, that protocol worked beautifully. Why? Because the first dosage day, it was like, okay, life is amazingly wonderful. Life is beautiful. I have everything I need. Life is good. And not once did I think, I need to go get high with that cannabis.
Nice.
Remember, I went in with the intentions, right, to stop using the cannabis. So I made sure that there was no cannabis around me.
Yeah.
Right. I made sure it wasn't like,
set
you know what?
And setting.
Exactly. Set and setting, So I made sure there wasn't any cannabis. And the cannabis wasn't even a thought. The second day, the transition day, was maybe a thought of like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, but I didn't need it yesterday. I don't really, why would I need it today? I'm fine without it. Plus there's no cannabis here. I don't need to go out and do whatever.
Yeah.
I'm fine. That third day, that integration day, which with any psychedelic experience, big, small, medium, large, that integration is the most important part. That is when that work is done. That, really, you know what I mean? I don't want to deal with this problem. I want to smoke cannabis. No, you don't. No. Why would you? And why were you doing that before?
Yeah.
There's this consciousness. There's this openness of this consciousness. Because then you start to think, wait a minute. I did so much this last 2 days without using the cannabis. How much could I have accomplished before if I hadn't been using the cannabis, right? So sort of that integration of like, wait a minute, I don't need that substance. I don't need that situation. So for me, that protocol worked beautifully. That was wonderfully 1 day on, 2 days off. It worked super nice. I love using.
So wait, that protocol was 4 to 6 weeks. So you did
Correct.
1 day on, 2 days off for 6 weeks, and then you reassessed for what to do next and how to proceed.
Correct. I took a 3-week integration break. Went over my journaling, over sort of, how did I deal with some of my stress? Sat again in my normal human feeling conditions that happen, right? But was more awakened to okay, wait a minute. Oh, you know what? 2 weeks ago, I had the same situation or I had the same issue. How did I deal with it then? I sit there and pull my hairs out and
right.
You know what I mean? I sort of sat there. I took a deep breath. I analyzed the situation. And that's what I'm going to do. And that's why that integration is really, really important. Those integration breaks are important to sort of reset, recalibrate, set new intentions.
Yeah.
Right? So if you know what, and like I tell people, is microdosing for the rest of your life? I would hope not. I would, you know what I mean? It's sort of, that there's things that come out of plant medicine, big journeys, small journeys that we might not be awakened to. That's what they do. That's definitely what they do.
Yeah, totally. It's fascinating, that whole concept too, because obviously, well, not obviously, for people who've listened to the show, this is obvious, but like, obviously I've been on my own journey with plant medicines and healing and doing all of that work. I bring that up because it is when will I need my next ceremony? Will I? What will that look like? The last year I sat with medicine multiple times as a sort of intentional, deeper engagement with ayahuasca specifically, which was very, very useful. At the end of last year, my last ceremony, she basically told me, "You're good. Go integrate. Like this is good job. Basically, like good work, and go integrate." So I haven't sat with ayahuasca in almost a year, and that's by design. That's intentional because the medicine has not called me back. I believed the insight that I received in the sense where it's like, okay, now I got to go do the work. I got to go do the integration work of like, what have I learned versus going every time I have a challenge, oh, I need to go and do a ceremony. It's not really true. It's like, what are the skills that I need to employ now? And I'm personally experiencing with a little bit of microdosing with psilocybin very haphazardly, but just sort of getting a sense for how my body and my psyche and spirit respond to connecting with that medicine in smaller doses. How does my creativity, is it amplified? I'm focusing a little bit more. Some days when I'm like, oh, I feel more and I maybe want to cry, something like that. So it really depends. Again, my experience microdosing is very haphazard. I certainly don't feel in any way equipped to advise on it, more just sharing my experience.
Yeah.
But anyway, keep going and tell us where it went after that first protocol for you.
I think it's really smart what you said, that sort of that intuition sometimes, right? That sort of that the medicine calls you.
Yeah.
Right? That the medicine, that there's something really about that. And a lot of people who I've talked to who have come up to me and asked me there's been something that has sort of called them to the medicine. It's never, I woke up this morning and said, you know what? I wonder what happens if I take some mushrooms. There was something that was calling him to him. And that's important to realize that, right? That it's sort of, and that comes out of intention. Once that calling is there, then it's like, so what are my intentions to be doing what I'm doing, to be going on this journey to figure out what I want to do. So it's going back to myself. It's been a year. I've done six different protocols. I did do the Fadiman protocol 3 times, and then after someone who I had helped guide them to get on a microdosing protocol, they had come up to me and said, you know what, that Fadiman protocol, I'm not really sure if it worked for me. It was like that first day I was really focused. That second day, I was focused, but things were still sort of coming up. By the third day, I wasn't as laser as I was that first day. And we sort of went over what he does, and he's someone who's got 3-4 deadlines a day.
Yeah.
So we said, well, why don't we try the Stamets protocol for you, which that calls for 4 days on, 3 days off. Some people do 5 days on, 2 days off. I think that the medicine somehow builds up a threshold. So I'm a bigger fan of the 4 days on, 3 days off, and giving it a bit of the rest. So it was a funny story with him, because he started to do that protocol, and he calls me a month later and he said, my boss has called me into their office. And I went, shit, what happened? He goes, they wanted to know how my productivity had gone up 20% in the last month.
Oh my gosh.
And I was like, what?
I believe it.
He's like, yes, I just come in more focused. He goes, the deadline, I don't even worry about the deadline anymore. The deadline doesn't exist. The only thing that exists is the work. The work.
Yeah.
Driving into work, I'm already mentally working. By the moment I sit down, I'm halfway done through my task. And by the end of the day, I'm like, okay, what deadline? And by Thursday, I'm almost done with the week's work. And so I'm pleasant. And that's why I tell a lot of people with microdosing to really feel the true effects of microdosing and really figure out what it does for your body. It's good to be on a consistent protocol, even if it's just 5 weeks. Let me try 5 weeks. Let me commit 5 weeks, and start a baseline and see where I am afterwards and see where that goes. It's sort of, it's so that it's not, you know what, I'm having a bad day, let me see if this might help, because then the full potentiality of the microdosing. It's like, I tell people, Melanie, the afterglow, after you had a wonderful experience afterwards, where you're just like,
oh yes,
man, even the challenging ones, even the challenging journeys.
All of my ceremonies have been really challenging.
No, so I've had one or two that it's been like, even those that afterwards you're like, to me, microdosing on a good protocol, good, consistent, good, you found your flow, it's just a constant afterglow. It's just a constant afterglow. You wake up and you're like, life is good, life is amazing, let's get productive, let's enjoy the now. I'm not going to think about yesterday, I'm not going to think about tomorrow, I'm going to just think about right now. This is where it's at. That to me, when you find that's a beautiful situation. That's a beautiful, beautiful feeling. And that's what's worked for me. Right now, I'm towards the latter part of being back on the Fadiman protocol. And then I'll take some breaks off. And then I have, I was invited. It's funny how either the medicine calls you or somehow invites you in. And it was funny the other day that you posted you're sketching about the 5-MeO DMT.
I wanted to ask you about this experience. I'm glad it's going here.
that medicine came up to me, and it's that calling. It's that calling of the medicine. So a couple of months ago, I'm invited to go down to a retreat in Jamaica because they wanted to see if I could give them a hand promoting the retreat.
Okay.
And I was like, okay, wonderful. Of course, I'm going to go to Jamaica, like to a retreat. Like a retreat with like a pool and somewhere to hang out and there's Jamaican food. Yes. Okay, perfect. Let's go. I just have to get down there. Yes, you just got to get down there. I get down there not realizing that I was diving into a very deep dive retreat, like a very deep healing, a protocol that a doctor down in Jamaica has come up with. She's an amazing, amazing person. The healing that I got during those 4 days there was just a breakthrough that came after being there was just amazing, but it was really deep. Like the first day was 4 grams. Like I had just gotten off the plane.
Wait. For people, so some people might have no idea what you're talking about. Like this, a lot of our audience are people that are really new to this conversation. Okay. There are definitely people listening that are not new to this conversation, but the vast majority of our listeners want the education. So like, what are you talking about? 5-MeO DMT. What's that? Like 4 grams of what? Like what? Perfect. So like, tell us what your experience was, and give people a insight into what you're sharing about how you got the breakthroughs that you got.
Perfect. Yeah. That's actually great. So I'm invited down to this. It was a psilocybin. It was a mushroom retreat in Jamaica. You were going to do 4 days of medicine. Was the idea of psilocybin, of just like psilocybin.
A high dose.
Like a very high dosage of psilocybin. So if your microdosing is less than half a gram is considered microdose, and between half a gram and 2 grams is considered a museum dose, a medium dose, some visuals, some perception, not really deep journey. Anything over 2 grams, 3 grams, 4 grams, 5 grams, you're getting into some deep medicine where the consciousness could really open up. There could be a lot of visuals. There could be a lot of distortions. There could be intentions. When you go in there with intentions and you're giving the medicine a roadmap, there's a lot of times you can see a lot of what you're looking for. So this was a heavy duty. This was a high dosage retreat.
Yep.
So usually a good retreat dosage is usually about 4 grams. This retreat right off the bat was 4 grams.
Yeah, like it's intentionally a ceremonial space. And I always say ceremony because the way that I meet medicine is always with sacredness, with reverence, with respect, with intentionality. It's not like, we just go, 4 grams, sure, pop it in. No, that's not how that's not what I think you're describing it as, but more correct, just to invite people into the difference between, like, I feel like I was talking with Carlos Tanner the other day, the founder of the Ayahuasca Foundation. He was on the show, and he mentioned about like how in the West we have no relationship with what we consume. Like we'll just pop a pill and go right back to what we're doing, and have this sort of almost negative relationship with the drugs that we consume for the purposes that we're hoping that they will, salve the symptoms or whatever. But anyway, what I think is so profound, one of the things that's so profound about plant medicine work and ceremonial work specifically too, is that real intentionality, that real reverence and respect that you bring to medicine. Even when I take a microdose, I like pause, I express gratitude. And it's not that I have some deep ceremony and I burn incense every time I take a microdose. I don't, but I do bring that respect and care and reverence to it every time, even if it's something as small as a microdose.
That's really important that you bring that up. I mean, it's again the reverence and the gratitude, right? That the earth has given us this. That whether you believe whatever you believe in, right? Put these medicines on the earth for us to help us. If only for that, take that one moment of saying thank you. Totally. Thank you for whatever you're going to do to me, whatever healing I'm looking for, whatever creativity I'm looking for, whatever it is that I want out of this ceremony. that you do take that pause. It's that gratefulness for what it's going to do is really important.
Yeah.
That's
So
super
anyway,
important.
not to interrupt your share, but I just
No.
felt like that's something that's worth
No,
highlighting for those listening.
I think there's a really big difference, and I'm glad you brought that up, between a recreational use of plant medicine and a ceremonial use of plant medicine. And it goes back, and I think in both, if your intentions are to go have a good time at a party, at a rave, at a museum, at a whatever, then you have some intentionality. Then
that can be healing too.
Exactly. Still
Mm-hmm.
exactly realize what's going to go on and be grateful and be thankful for what's going on. But it's important. I think it's awesome that you brought that up, that it's important that we give thanks to what the earth has given us, because it is the earth that's given us these plant medicines.
Yeah, so and in this story, you're stepping into a 4-gram experience, which clearly is a ceremonial dose. So tell us about that.
So that was quite a journey, in the sense of, when I went in there, the tensions were trying to figure out where this project goes next, where we take Cultivating Wisdom next. Are we on the right path? And there was a lot of, I'd almost sensed that I was going back to childhood and fear, right? Fear of consequences, fear of punishment. There was still this sense of, you believe in this business, but you don't totally believe in it because you're scared of the consequences. You're scared of the punishment if it doesn't succeed, if it doesn't happen. And there was a lot of that opening up that first day. And when I talked to the doctor who was facilitating, who was holding ceremony for us, she said, well, that was what we wanted to do. We wanted to open it up. The sense wasn't to heal you on the first day and then you spend the rest of the 3 days here just jacuzzi lounging. That's not the point. You know what I mean? We're here to sort of really figure this out. So just, go to bed with some sense of, okay, you've opened something up. You get a sense of what you're looking for. What is it that you're trying to find, and we'll go again tomorrow. The second day, she said, okay, well, I want you to really go deep. I want you to sit with 7 grams of psilocybin. And I was like, oh, okay, that's a lot of medicine. And she said, you really need to dig deep. I mean, wow. you're at this verge of something happening big. You have something big on the threshold that you're at, and it's just, you need to make sure that you're figuring out what it is that's holding you back. And it's I don't mind sharing my vulnerability with people, because I think it's important for us to realize sometimes the way the mind works. And I had gone through, before going to Jamaica, to this sense of like, you know what, I'm just going to sleep on it. I got these issues, I got these bills, I got whatever, we got to do this. I'm just going to sleep on it. I'll figure out tomorrow. Yeah. And in Jamaica, that dark part of the ego with so much medicine was getting in my ear going, okay, then just go to sleep here. End it here in Jamaica. Go ahead. Why not? You know what I mean? Just that way you don't have to worry about anything. All those fears you have, all the issues, whether it's bills, whether it's this happening, is this not happening, whether what's going to happen, all those worries will go away if you just go to sleep. And what a more poetic place to do it than in Jamaica. And it was like, why? Wait a minute. And the doctor, who was incredibly profound, came in and she listened to me, what I was talking about. And she said, well, if that's the case, then what's your legacy? And not what's your legacy for your children or for your spouse or for your parents or for all these other people that believe in you. What's a legacy for you, for yourself? And the medicine, was afterwards kicked in a sense of like, what are your fears? Like, what's this little ego that you have that's like talking to you that you can't? Who says you can't? Look at the person in the mirror and let that person tell you if you can or can't. Not that ego. Look at that person in the mirror, because that's the real you. That's who you should be looking at every day and realizing that you can do this. And there's this big breakthrough in the sense of like, yes, you know what? And I have to, if I don't really see it, which is sometimes a problem we have as humans, which that visualizing, we hit that roadblock. But I'm a big believer in the more we think, act, and behave like the person we really want to be, the more fruition that comes, and it comes to reality. That's the breakthrough that the medicine had at that moment of like, yes, you're going to be you're going to be okay. You're going to be fine. If you believe in yourself, that's going to be amazing. So that second day and that journey was that opening of like, really believe in yourself, like really have this confidence. The third day was a smaller dosage.
Cesar, let me jump in.
Yes, of course.
Thank you for sharing that. Obviously, it speaks volumes to making sure we are in a safely held container, so that you're having these struggles with this darkness, which I'm sure plenty of people can relate to. And you had the support that you needed in that challenging experience with medicine or whatever. And I just want to highlight that, because the last thing we would want is for people to be in these situations and be battling this darkness by themselves. Like knowing that if people are at risk, there are people that you can call. There are resources, whether you're, and certainly when you're communing with medicine at a high dose, the safe container is so important, and the people that are facilitating and holding space for you are really there so that you can get an experience with the darkness, so that you no longer have to be afraid of it. Like how beautiful that you came out of that and you're like, no, I got it. The antidote to this is believing in myself. Fuck yeah, man.
Yeah.
I'm fucking into it.
Yeah, fuck yeah. Yeah, exactly. And I love that you bring that up, because it is really important to have someone safe, right? Someone that knows what you're doing. Psychedelics can be so beautiful, but at the same time, they can be harrowing. There's situations that could be dark, because that's human. That's humanity. Mm-hmm. Humanity's light or darkness. That's where we are. Mm-hmm. And when you add psychedelics to it and you sort of really put the weight on it, it's important to have someone there. And you just need someone who loves, right? Whether it's a therapist who loves and has a heart, whether it's a partner who loves and has a heart, whether it's a friend who loves and has a heart, you just need someone to be there. This isn't something you want to go into and do this alone whatsoever. And it's and that love situation, and I'll touch on it on the 5-MeO.
Sure.
Is incredibly important. And that was the beautiful thing about that Jamaica experience, was that it was a retreat where everyone was loving. Yeah. There was this sense of safe space, safe healing, safe container, understanding.
And note, if you don't feel that, peeps listening, you do not have to do that retreat. You don't have to, even if you think that the medicine is called, if you get to a place and it doesn't feel right for you, you don't have to do anything. You can trust that and step out of that experience. So I love making sure people really understand that. So sorry, go ahead, Cesar.
Trust your intuition. Trust your intuition. Trust, especially something like this, especially a retreat. If you're contemplating going to a retreat, if that's something that you're interested in, if that's something that's poked at your childhood curiosity, do your research, talk to people who have been there, really get a sense of who the people running the retreat is, not some broker who's going to hook you up to a retreat and the next thing you know, you're there. Try to talk to the owners, people in this space are in a loving situation. We'll make sure that they have the time to talk to you and answer any questions you have. They're doing this with love.
Absolutely.
If you don't have something like that, I would definitely question the retreat.
So day three.
Day three was beautiful. It was a lot. There was some yoga and some massage therapy, and then the retreat did something beautiful where they took you out to the woods and you planted a tree, so you left a bit of yourself in Jamaica, and then you went down to this magical place called Source, which is the source of this river. This river starts to come out of the ground and starts to source down towards river in Ocho Rios, Jamaica. And it's just bamboo amphitheater that's beautiful. And you go down there at dusk. So once the sun starts to fall, all these fireflies come upstream and they illuminate the whole area. It's beautiful. I did 3 grams going down there. I did make the mistake. And this is something that obviously if you haven't had a psychedelic experience, and it's something that, especially with psilocybin, if it's something that you're curious about, is something that you're thinking about, food intake is incredibly important. I somehow got hungry and made the mistake of eating something a little bit too close to that ceremony, and that didn't set well in my stomach. So that was fine. But the funny thing about that day in that medicine was that after 3 days of intense ceremony like that, you're tired. You're a bit tired. And as we were sitting down there waiting for the fireflies, I'm starting to get drowsy. I'm starting to fall asleep. And all I hear is the medicine going, "I told you not to fall asleep. Wake up. If you're missing out on this, who knows what else you're missing out on?" So it was definitely a beautiful experience. And then the fourth day, and this is where I get to the 5-MeO DMT. And for those of you who do not know, 5-MeO DMT, the DMT is something that naturally occurs in the body. High elevations of DMT can take you to different realms, different conscious realms that could be incredibly enlightening. There's different types of DMT. DMT is used as part of the ayahuasca mixture. So the root itself is not what creates the active ingredient in ayahuasca. It's the root and the DMT that comes out of some of the leaves. So DMT is naturally found in a lot of places. 5-MeO DMT is the DMT found in the poison secreted from toads that live in the Baja area of Mexico and Texas. And that venom is then crystallized, and then it's vaporized, and then it gives you quite a psychedelic experience. A lot of people call 5-MeO DMT the God molecule. And it's incredibly powerful. The two of the people that were there along with the retreat they serve 5-MeO here in the States. They're these beautiful couple, and that's why I go back to the same thing when you're talking about medicine. If you're receiving or being served ceremony by someone with love, you can tell right away. This couple from day one was just loving, and they had let me know that they would be able to serve ceremony with 5-MeO for me if I wanted to.
How did you know you were ready? Because I'm genuinely asking, because like I don't feel ready. And I've said this, I've shared this. I shared this in my post the other day on Instagram when I shared my drawing. The medicine 5-MeO DMT has not called to me yet. It scares me even thinking about it. But I'm very curious. I imagine at some point in my lifetime it will call. I'm not sure. We'll see. But I'm interested in people who meet the medicine, because I'm just curious how it called, and like, how did you know you were ready? I'm curious. This is a selfish question. I'm really genuinely
No. It's a great question. It's a great question. It's not a selfish question at all, because this isn't let's just do 5-MeO DMT just to see what happens, right? That's not.
God, no.
No. You don't. That's not. No. A friend of mine has a DMT pen. Let me take a hit out of it to see what happens. No. So the medicine had been offered, right? The fact that it was available was there. So that was part of the seed. I think having gotten so many wonderful messages from the psilocybin those 3 days, right? From this is why you're scared, this is what's going on, to no, you don't want to go to sleep. You have to wake up, and you have to believe in yourself, to, again, reiterating, don't fall asleep on anything. Be awake for everything that's coming for you. That I was like, okay, what other message can the psilocybin have for me? And the fact that 5-MeO DMT followed me all the way to Jamaica to say, here I am.
Yeah,
this is your opportunity.
Makes sense.
It made it. And don't think that, the moment they said, hey, there's 5-MeO, would you be interested in having ceremony? That I was like, oh yeah, fine. No, there was like, I don't know. But towards that third day, there was something about, and then the fact that of the rooms in the retreat, mine was the only one that had a frog toad as a door knocker. Might have also been the universe saying, "You're ready, guy. You're ready." So that was definitely a beautiful thing that happened. So the night before, they said, okay, so if you want, we can do it tomorrow. We can go back down to Source, which is a beautiful setting to have your 5-MeO. I said, yes. I talked to the doctor. The doctor was like, are you sure? I said, yes, this is what I want. And I think for her, my sense of this is really what I want gave her the sense of, okay, then, you can go out of my protocol, which isn't really what I wanted, but
Right.
I get a sense, she understood, which is really, I really respected that in her. Someone's ego could have said, no, 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 that's not what,
Right. Right.
we're here to do this. So she was very open to it. And wow, just incredibly wow. I'm going to try to make this as not as drawn out as possible, but it was a beautiful, beautiful ceremony. We get down to source. Like I said, it's just this amphitheater that's covered by bamboos. And the person, Angel, who was going to serve for me, he says, I'm going to get this space ready for it. I'm going to cleanse it for you. I'm going to get it really, in a vibrational atmosphere where you're going to be most conducive to what you need. And he said, I just want you to go walk. And as I walk, I'm walking barefoot towards where the river starts, right, where it starts to come up. And as I start to walk, I'm sure it was 3 days of medicine. I'm sure there's a lot of emotions going on. I'm sure the body being prepared for what's going to happen. Melanie, all of a sudden, I just start to cry.
Yeah.
Just like tears just start coming down. And it's not like I'm happy. It's not like I'm sad. It's not like I'm anything. I'm just starting to cry. And as I'm walking, it's a rough road. There's like rocks and there's mud and it's nasty and it's grassy. And I'm like, and all I hear is walk your path, like walk your path. Just continue to walk your path. And I'm like, okay. And I'm just continuing to just bawl cry as I'm walking down this dirt path until I get to the river. And as I step into the river, it took me longer to look down. And as I looked down, my feet, which have been covered in mud and guck and everything else by the river, because the river starts there, it's so forceful that my feet were already clean. It's like I look down and all I hear is like, is it clear now? Can you not see that the path is rocky? It is dirty, but at the end, it's very clear that this is your path that you must walk. And I was like, okay. And I walk back to where the ceremony is going to be held. And Angel sits for me and he says, okay, who are you present for? And so many people came to mind. And I said, well, I have to be present for myself. That's who I need to be present for. Because if I'm not present for myself, I can't be present for anybody else. Can't. I said, that's perfect. And as we sit there, he says, okay, get ready. He sort of gets, there's a prayer that you read. The prayer, I read every single syllable of it and felt every single syllable of it. And it just talks about the healing journey starts now. Like you're forever healing for anything that you've done in the past or anyone that you've had resentment towards. That healing, all of it starts at that moment. The prayer sort of opened my heart up and it opened up my spirit. And as he sits there and he starts to facilitate the 5-MeO, which is in a vaporizer, he's heating it up. And, he'll tell you to inhale and his wife stands behind you and Kara will lift your arms. She's going to lift your arms. And he says, you're going to count to 15. And we're going to count together to 15 as you're inhaling. And I want you to inhale really slowly. And I start to count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And I'm not sure if you've seen my Instagram, but if you haven't, if you check it out at Cultivating Wisdom, there's a picture of me in Jamaica where I'm sitting in front of this just sort of vast green jungle. And as I count to 10, Melanie, I'm transported. I'm like rocketed right into that jungle. And I'm standing in that jungle of like vastness. And I can hear every single creature and I can hear every animal and I can sense everything moving in the grass and everything's like in 8 dimensions. And I can sense every single green. And all I hear is, do you see this abundance? This abundance is everywhere for you. This abundance exists and it's never ending. You just have to see it. You have to see that the abundance is never going to stop as long as you are here present for it. And I was like, I could sense everything. I was like, of course it is. Of course everything's available. It's just there. It's just, you have to see it. You have to believe it and you have to sense it. And this, as I'm sort of still, I'm offline. I'm just, and then in the video, because they were documenting this for this retreat that's just starting it. In the video, I sense I'm looking straight out and I'm shaking a bit. I end up going back to the ground and I lay down and I'm just sitting there, eyes closed. And one of the persons that was sitting there holding space for, somehow she's got this sense to go to the river. She just runs to where the river is and she picks up water from the river and she comes back as with whatever little water she's got in her palms of her hands, and she puts it on my forehead and my eyes are closed. And Melanie, it literally felt like they were washing my brain, like my brain, all the cavities were just, water was going through.
Wow.
And every single negative thought, every single doubt was being washed away. And it was just like I had this new way of thinking. And then somehow a little bit of water she has left, she just puts it on my lips. And it was amazing because it was like I could taste joy and I tasted happiness and I tasted abundance and I tasted, and it was like, why would you taste anything else that's not that?
Wow.
Why would you have any sour taste towards anything, towards anyone in your life? That's the joy that you should be always tasting. Is, and I'm laying back and I start to open my eyes and I look up and it's just this bamboo amphitheater with lights coming through. It was like, all of this is yours. Just grab onto it. This whole universe is yours. This is all you need to see, is that it's there and the abundance is there and that the clarity of it is there. You just have to see it. And once you see it, everything will open up. And the videos are there, just me smiling and tears are just rolling down my face of this overcoming joy of like, yes, dude, believe in yourself. If you believe in yourself, then everything else is possible. Everything else is just, the potential for it to happen is there.
I love this so much.
So it's the reason why I feel they call it the God molecule is because I realized at that moment that I am God, that I'm God, that you're God, that my neighbor is God, that the person serving you coffee at Starbucks is a God, that we're all gods. And yes, we can pray to other gods and we can have other gods and other things that we believe in. But how can you truly believe in anything else if you don't believe in yourself?
Yeah.
Right? If
Powerful.
you don't hold yourself accountable, and not God in an arrogant way.
Yeah.
No.
No, totally.
God in the loving way, God in the understanding way, God in the all-powerful, that everything is possible as long as you put your mind to it. Anything you do is possible. So it was that sense of like, believe in yourself like you're God. You're your God. You're nobody else's God. You're your God.
I love this because I feel like it's such a perfect, I love this for you. It sounds wildly healing. It's only going to support where you're going and where you're taking cultivating wisdom and the radiance that you're going to beam, fucking blast people in their hearts. So it's like awesome, right?
Yeah.
I joked with my friends years ago where we were like radiant. I'm a radiant ball of light, and that people who hung out with me had to wear like nuclear blast shields, like big sunglasses. So I'm like such a believer in that, like of being a ball of light. But what I love about your story about this healing that you got is that you can absolutely see around the copious amount of things where people are saying, believe in yourself, right? And it's not the same to connect to like touch an idea like that when we're not connected to it. It is entirely different, the power, when we feel that, right? So like that, you had a fucking embodied, deep, transformative, spiritual experience, embedding that idea into your every fiber of your psyche and being. That is power and powerful. So it's like, because a lot of people who don't necessarily like, because that's what I want people to also learn about when we're talking about these medicines. Why are they so powerful? Is they deliver us these like deep knowings in our spiritual body, in our emotional body, in our physical body, such that it's just way, way different. It's such a different level than just ideologically doing growth mindset work, which is important. I'm not
important.
dismissing that. I'm a life coach 15, 16
Yeah.
years. Like, mindset work is really powerful. It's just, it tends to take a lot longer to iterate, to collect the evidence of, how do I know if I can believe in myself? Well, I got to keep trying. I got to keep trying. I got to collect evidence over decades, right? And so I'm not saying that there's no integration after this. You're going to have to now go and step into this belief. But anyway, you see, you know what I mean? Like, I just want to, I want to highlight that, because it's that embodied knowing is so strong and can help drive the decisions that we make, the brave actions that we take, and in ways that we wouldn't necessarily have been able to take otherwise. Like, I see this in my healing journey all over the place, and I'm thrilled at the idea of where you're going to take this for yourself. But go ahead.
No, you're right. It's again, it's going back to that thinking, acting, and behaving like that person you want to be. That's the sense that I got through that journey, right? That the more I do that, the more I think like the person I want to be, the more I act like that person I want to, and the more I behave like that person I want to be, then there's no doubts, because I'm already there. That's already happened. And it was that psychedelic experience that helped me to do that. And yes, it's incredibly powerful that in just one ceremony with that enlightenment comes so quickly, right? That sometimes you, like you said, that potential of that happening could have happened without that ceremony. It might have, you know what I mean? But there's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of opening up to that psyche of really seeing it, really sensing it, really feeling it, of really getting that sense of what it feels like that the psychedelics do. That's why I feel is takes that other believing in yourself to that next level.
Yeah.
Right. It really, really amplifies it.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and of course, we could talk for hours and hours about this. I have like 18 stories I would love to just throw into the space, but in service of time and is there anything that we haven't talked about that you want to talk about? And also, where are we going? Where are you going? What are you excited about? You were talking about growing, cultivating wisdom and all of the things that you're doing. Is there any part of that you want to share? We would love to hear that too.
All right. First I want to talk about what an inspiration you are first, because besides me watching you jump into ice baths on a daily basis and going, oh my God, I try to emulate and take cold showers, and I'm like, I have no clue how she resists, how she stands. Besides the fact that you are such a ray of light, and you have two options: either you put on the nuclear glasses, or you stand right by your side and hug you and shine just as much. That for sure I have to reiterate, because you're a special individual, and I love how one thing that I really love that you do is that you take us into your world.
Thank
you
my
take
friend.
us backstage, and you let us see your vulnerability, and you let us see your joy, and you let us see who you are, and that's incredibly powerful and magical. So thank you for you. I could not be more happy that you exist, and that you're in my circle, and that we're in each other's circle. So that I didn't know. I would be remiss to sort of leave without definitely recognizing you for that.
Thank you, my friend.
What's next for us? We continue to grow. You know what I mean? Cultivating Wisdom is going to be a platform bigger than it is right now in the psychedelic space. I am more focusing on my generation, right? There's a lot of voices talking about psychedelics, but I think there's more people of my generation that need to see someone like me talk to them. So I'm going to get into the helping people get on a safe and effective microdosing protocol through different training systems that we're going to do. I'm going to put together a nice 12-week program to get people on a really productive microdosing protocol. We're going to look at trying to do some retreats in Colombia next year.
Cool.
And definitely also move a little bit more into the Hispanic space, right?
Okay, great.
I think that I would do a disservice being Hispanic American to not share this message with the Latino community.
Beautiful.
And then moving forward, you know what I mean? Cultivating Wisdom wants to be, wants to continue to grow. We want to be able to give this medicine, or at least have the education platform of this medicine to everyone, right? That lower marginalized, underserved communities also have the potential to grow and heal through these medicines. That down the road, Cultivating Wisdom has a nonprofit where we could bring people and educate them how to take these medicines that their ancestors have used for gazillions of years, and take them back into their communities and help people heal. So that's what we're doing. Like I said, Wonderland is coming up, so that'll be good. And continue to grow this community, continue to spread this message, continue to share space with wonderful people like you, and continue to connect and share and collaborate and share love, because we need it so much right now, Melanie. We need more smiles. We need more hugs. The world needs it. We need to spread much love. We need to spread as much love. Yeah, we need to spread as much love as we can, right? And that's a journey, right? That it's, that if we smile at 5 people, 2 of them might not smile back. 2 of them are going to smile back, and one's even going to give you a hug. So that's the idea, to continue to spread that.
How can people give you a digital hug? Like, where do they
Definitely,
follow you? What is your website? Like, how can people legitimately support you and follow you and be a part of what you're building?
Definitely. So definitely follow us on Instagram, cultivating.wisdom. That's a platform for me being myself, just like Mel. She's there being honest, being vulnerable, being awesome. Cultivatingwisdom.net is the actual store, the apparel brand. We want people to wear stuff like this. Why? This opens up conversations. Someone wears something like this and someone can come up and say, wait a minute, you microdose? I've heard about that. I've read about that. Can you cultivate me with some wisdom on how I can smile like you're smiling? Or someone says, oh, you microdose? So do I. What are you microdosing? What protocol are you on? I felt this. Have you been feeling that? You know what I mean? How are you dealing with this? Just open up these conversations. So that's cultivatingwisdom.net. And then you can follow me, find me on Cesar Marin, CesarMarin.net. That is the landing page there. We're going to put up the training program for Generation Xers and the availability for the retreat. So a lot of different places you could find us. Please come join this wonderful community. I'm more than happy to share my story with whoever. I'm more than happy to sort of, share DMs and, help you, guide you with whatever you need to get on a good and safe microdosing practice.
Cesar, I love you so much. I love you dearly. Yes. Heart, hands, legit.
Yes, definitely.
I am so thrilled. Thank you for sharing your stories. Thank you for being vulnerable. Thank you for being open. It makes a difference. Like, I believe in it deeply. This is why I have so much fuel and energy for Trust the Journey. Is it like, I believe your presence here today has made a difference and will continue to make a difference to anybody who listens to this episode. So thank you. So team, you know where to find him. He just said all the links. Go and follow him on Instagram. 60 Seconds of Wisdom with Cesar is a super dope series. I'm just saying, I love it. And yeah, follow. Of course, trustthejourney.today is all of our stuff.
Yes.
And, reach out to me directly anytime, as always. But just join us however you are called, and we welcome you. Cesar, thank you so much.
And trust the journey.
Yes.